In this episode and video, we're going to talk about how to return to exercise safely postpartum. And I'm going to break down your 0 to 24 week postpartum rehab plan week by week so you know exactly what you need to be focusing on after you have your baby. So let's start with 0 to 2 weeks. That first section is so beautiful and intimate and a time for you just to really focus on nourishing your body well with whole foods by resting as much as you possibly can in and around your bed, especially if you had a vaginal birth. We want you horizontal that first week more so than if you had a C-section, where we would want you upright a little bit more, walking around to reduce post-operative complications. But those first 2 weeks are really focused on making sure that you are nourishing your body well with good food, getting a lot of support, getting a lot of encouragement and love from your family members, from friends, and really just trying to feed your body well because it is recovering and you have the size of a dinner plate wound inside your uterus that the placenta was located in. So it's really important to be able to rest, to sleep, to bond with your baby as much as possible, and to get as much support on board these first 2 weeks, especially as you are navigating just post-birth life. Around that 2 to 6 week mark, and I'm speaking directly from a doctor of physical therapy perspective, someone who specializes in pelvic health, pregnancy, and postpartum. We are experts in birth prep and birth rehab, and so I wouldn't recommend you just doing this on your own, but if you are going to work directly with a professional, I do think it's best during this time period. So around that 2 to 6 week mark, if you will, we're really trying to focus on gentle reconnection between your pelvic floor, your core system, whether you had a vaginal birth or a C-section birth. It is important for you to stay reconnected during this period. So a lot of breath work, and I know breath work is like a buzzword right now. So when I say breath work, this is focusing on the full expansion and inhale at your rib cage, all the way around 360 degrees, taking that nice breath in, feeling it coming from the back, the side, the front of your rib cage, down into your abdomen, especially if you had a C-section. This is so great to get that internal massage at the incision site. And then allow that passive lengthening to just flow from the pressure that's being transferred down through that breath into the pelvic floor. So it's a gentle passive lengthening at the pelvic floor as well. And if you did have a vaginal birth and you did have some complications or there was tearing involved, episiotomy, forceps delivery, vacuum assistance, or you're just really struggling with a lot of pain and discomfort, this gentle breath in can be really, really helpful and supportive to you healing and allowing some blood flow, some lymphatic flow in the system to just circulate to be able to kickstart that healing process for yourself. So when I say breath work in this 2 to 6 week range, we're focusing mostly on the relaxation, the lengthening that's happening at the pelvic floor, the full expansion that's happening at the lower abdomen, the rib cage, trying to avoid that breath in coming from our shoulders and really so more happening from, the thorax and down. But then also after you've kind of established this breath in, you've gotten some reconnection to this area, we can absolutely focus on some gentle contraction at the pelvic floor and the deep core system to be able to start bringing the nerve to muscle connection together again, right? So when you have a vaginal birth, your pelvic floor stretches and passively lengthens about 2.5 times the normal resting length of the pelvic floor, right? And so this is a very elongated position that the pelvic floor muscles went through. And with a C-section, 7 layers were cut or sutured or pushed to the side during that birth experience. And so that gentle reconnection of the exhale being the engagement at the pelvic floor, the exhale being that zipper up mentality from the pelvic floor up to the belly button, thinking about zippering up there, that exhale that happens, drawing the belly button towards the spine at the very end, up and in. That can help if you don't overdo it too soon, but that can help bring that nerve to muscle connection together again for you so it can kind of kickstart your body into healing. What I think a lot of people forget is these first 2 to 6 weeks of healing and this reconnection exercises, we're really talking about a lot of neurophysiological changes. It's all nerve to muscle at this point. We're not really building massive hypertrophy in these earlier weeks as you're focusing on reconnection. So I really suggest in these 2 to 6 weeks to make sure that you're doing body weight still. We're starting in what's called gravity eliminated positions. So this could be on your back, it could be sideline, it could be hands and knees, and this can be just in your bed or on the ground right next to your bed. We don't need to be going to the gym or, doing these big crazy workouts at this time period. This really is still a time for very much healing. You're likely still bleeding at this time period. Your body is very much in this healing process. So we're just asking for a little bit of gentle mobility at the spine and the hips. We're asking for a little bit of gentle reconnection during this period and really trying to be in what we call gravity eliminated positions. A lot of times people get confused at what that means exactly. So if we think about you standing upright and after a vaginal birth, the pelvic floor is at the bottom, right? And so when you're standing, the gravity is pulling the pelvic floor down. And so if you're doing exercises in a more upright position on these earlier weeks, those first 2 to 4 weeks in this upright position, you're really kind of fighting against gravity. So from a rehab lens, we really want you to start in the most gentle way possible to start that reconnection phase, to start that nerve to muscle connection phase in a gravity eliminated position. That's where backline or sideline can be really great because now we take the bottom of your pelvis and we put it on its side, or on its back, and it doesn't have as much pressure pulling down so that you can start to connect a little bit easier to that area of your body. But when we also think about C-section, right, that's at that lower incision or the abdomen. If we're in a quadruped position, which is being on your hands and your knees, that is where you're going to be really working against gravity. So if you're working on, some core connections or some exhaling with breathwork in this position, this can be even harder position for the deep core system in the abdomen to be able to contract and to connect because you're working against gravity, where gravity is pulling down and you're activating against it. So again, in this 2 to 6 week range, we're really focusing on connecting again in a sideline position or a backline position as well to be able to start that process, that reconnection process earlier for you so that you're laying a really good foundation for when you start more upright exercises. Okay, so now let's jump to 6 to 12 weeks. I like to group this 6 to 12 weeks together because you are naturally around the 6-week mark, starting to intuitively and naturally feel a little bit more like you're wanting to do a little bit more activity. This is obviously like the infamous 6-week checkup that you're like cleared for everything. And it's just so much of a disservice to women that are birthing children where we send them home with absolutely no guidance and exercises on what to do from 0 to 6 weeks. And then we're giving them a 10 or 15-minute checkup for 6 weeks where they're cleared to do absolutely everything. This is where we really see a lot of people go too hard too soon. They're doing too much too soon. And then they really backslide. Or around the 6 to 8 week mark, there's a change in hormones happening as well. And we're also seeing a peak in symptoms like leakage or prolapse or pain with intimacy. If you resume that, of course, at that time period after you're cleared, we'll see a peak or a surge of increased symptoms around the 6 to 12 week period. So in order to try to avoid that increase in symptoms, it's really best, obviously, to be able to really slowly, gradually work up to the 6-week mark so that when you are quote unquote cleared, whatever that means, right? When you are cleared, that you at least have a plan moving forward or at least have some sort of a foundation that has been built prior to that period. Okay, so even if we are going to talk about 6 to 12 weeks, I still recommend everyone starting off body weight first after we have worked through a gentle reconnection phase of mobility, deep core, and pelvic floor work, okay? So this 6 to 12 week is really still focused, in my opinion, especially a specialist as a pelvic floor and pregnancy and postpartum specialist and doctor of rehab. We're really specializing at the 6 to 12 week mark as pelvic floor and core rehab, where it's really, that's it. Like that's what we're focused on, of progressing your exercises beyond just being in a gravity eliminated position, but we're actually challenging the system, being upright a little bit more, We then might start to add some resistance around this time period as well, either with a Pilates ball or a very light resistance band. But you're starting with body weight first, and then somewhere between the 6 to 12 weeks progressively, maybe 8 weeks for you, maybe 10 weeks, maybe 12 weeks, right? No body is the same. No one's birth method and birth experience is the same. And no one's prior strength gains or ability for exercise was the same either. So we really want to take an individualized approach. That's what we do with all of our clients that we work with online, is take a very individualized and customized approach in this 6 to 12 week space where we're slowly and gradually rebuilding your pelvic floor and core strength. So this is our rebuild and restore phase, where we're really focused on progressively overloading those systems with some light resistance. And then when you get closer to that 12-week phase, we're then starting to add even more resistance and a more functional training capacity. So from 12 weeks to 24 weeks, this is where we're really focusing on functional strength gains. We can't just jump straight to this. We have to do the 0 to 12-week build-up phase. Whether you join us and start working on this day one after you have your baby, just 5-10 minutes in your bed, or whether you join us, 6 months postpartum, we're still going to start you at the beginning and making sure that we do that mind-body connection phase first, that nerve to muscle connection, and slowly work you through the phases that is safe for you to return back to exercise postpartum. So in this 12 to 24 week phase, this is where we're adding more functional strength training in, if your body is ready and tolerating it. This is also a time period where we're really wanting to make sure we're staying on top of any pelvic floor and core conditions like leakage or prolapse, pain, diastasis, any heaviness that might be going on, and that we're staying ahead of that and giving you more customized solutions for you to be able to, stay ahead of that and reverse that. And in this functional training phase, this is also where we might be adding dumbbells, so even heavier weights than more than just resistance bands. It doesn't mean exactly for 12 weeks. It could for some people who have that prior history of exercise and they did that 0 to 12 weeks phase with us at 12 weeks. Yes, we could be adding some light dumbbells in there, but that doesn't mean that everybody should be doing weights and adding dumbbells and barbells and all of those things at 12 weeks. This is progressive in nature. And so somewhere between this 12 to 24 week phase, we're really focusing on full body functional strength training. Picking up your kiddos, picking up car seats, putting them in and out of the car, strollers in the back of the car. This is all functional strength training that mothers need to train for, right? We can't just not lift anything or only focus on 2 and 3, 4, 5 pound, weights that we're using for 20 reps and then expect that to transfer over to picking up your 20-pound toddler, your 30-pound toddler, and putting them in and out of the car seat and the stroller and being able to carry, multiple bags of groceries in and out while you have a baby on your hip, right? Like, this is the strength training that moms need to do to really be able to build their core and their pelvic floor strength and be able to get back into higher levels of activity. So again, somewhere within this 3 to 6 month range or this 12 to 24 week range, we're starting with that body weight, then we're moving into weights, and then from there, then we're adding in more plyometrics, jumping, jogging, and running around that 4 or 5 to 6 month range. That can be like a safe time for us to be able to start that return to strength training or return to higher impact phases safely. It, again, can be different for everybody's bodies, but this is a general time frame that you can kind of follow to make sure that you're returning back to exercise safely, that we're not just doing nothing for 6 weeks, getting all cleared, and then going back to the gym as normal, or saying, well, I'll just start with bodyweight squats. Well, if we just start with bodyweight squats, we've missed the entire pelvic floor and core rebuild phase that's going to allow you to be able to progress beyond bodyweight squats to dumbbell squats and barbell squats, which I know a lot of moms want to get back to that, but that's where they'll start to see those issues pop up in that 12 to 24 week phase if they didn't do any, pre-work on the pelvic floor and core specifically. I know if you're working with us directly, typically 3 to 6 months is all we really need to be able to rebuild your pelvic floor and your core safely postpartum, to be able to get you back into activities like running and hiking and strength training safely without leakage, prolapse, pain with intimacy, or anything like that. If you are looking for support and guidance, what you can do is just book a call with us at the link below to chat what working with us one-on-one would feel like and look like a little bit more. We work 100% with moms, virtually customized online one-on-one with our pelvic floor therapists and strength training and nutrition coaches to be able to get you into tip-top shape without having to, spin your wheels on your own, trying to figure it out on your own. We will literally meet with you face-to-face, give you a customized plan, have check-in points, have accountability all throughout the program so that you are successful and we see you win and get back to exercise safely. But if you're also feeling like, I'm not sure if I'm totally ready for one-on-one support, I also am going to link a 61-page postpartum recovery guide that will at least give you the DIY version of the things that you need to know to be on the lookout, some starter exercises. So if you're looking to do a little bit more DIY and you want to get a little bit more education and support that way, you can go ahead and check out the description as well. And I will go ahead and link that guide for you as well. Until next time, I'm Dr. Jessica London, and I'll see you on the next episode.